about equipment. And it's also a good day for you guys to ask any questions about us as keepers, as trainers, as people who work with animals. If you have any burning questions, feel free to put them in the comments. And this is a good time to get to know a keeper and get to know what it's like to work with these birds on a daily basis. So if you have any questions about how we got here, why we're here today, feel free to put those in the comments. Equipment is kind of a very broad term. So when we use the word equipment, we talk about the things that are on the bird's legs. So if you've ever noticed, we'll bring birds out on the gloves and they have something called a leash attached to their jesses, attached to their anklets. So we have 3 different key parts of equipment that we use when we're training our birds. So the first part of equipment is something called health checks. We'll put the equipment on, so we'll put the anklets on, and we use something called grommets to attach the leather to make a nice little bracelet for all of our birds. So these are permanent. These are going to stay on the birds while they're here with us. And that's really important because when we use the anklets, we attach something called jesses to them. So anklets, permanent. For most of our birds, we have removable jesses, and jesses come in all different sizes depending on the size of a bird. So we have a big jess and a short jess. So this size is going to be something that we use for kestrels or screech owls or smaller hawks. And then this guy is used for our bigger birds like our great horned owl or our bigger falcons. And so different sizes determine kind of like what we use for each bird. So the jesses are going to go through the grommets that are on the anklets. And so when we ask a bird to step up on the glove, if they choose to step up, the first thing we do is put on their jesses, and then we're able to hold on to the jesses using our gloves. Now attached to the jesses after that is something called a swivel. And the swivel attaches to the anklets, and that's what the holes in the anklets are for, is you run it through both of them. It's hard to do without an actual bird, an actual glove. But anyway, so you put it through there, loop it through this hole. This anklet might be a little big for this jess. And then at the end of that, you attach something called a leash. And the leash is pretty self-explanatory. You put it through the opposite end of the swivel. Wow, I'm shaking. I had too much coffee today. All right, and then you just loop it, do loop-de-loop.
Why is there a swivel?
Why is there a swivel? That's an excellent question. So, with the jesses, ideally these would be attached to jesses, but again, it's hard for me to do without like the bird and the glove. So it's going to be attached to there. And the swivel, as you can see, it turns. So the bird is not going to get tangled if they decide to move around a lot, and that's okay. Just like we can't sit in the same position all the time, we have to move around a little bit, same with the birds. So the swivel makes it easier for the birds to move without getting all twisted up in the equipment.
Hadley would like to know, what do the birds do when it rains?
What do the birds do when it rains? Well, today I did ask 2 of my birds to step up on the glove, and they both were sitting on the perch that's under their shaded area, so where there's like a nice roof to protect them from the rain, and they just sat and looked at me. They did not want to come out in the rain. Other birds actually like the rain, like our spectacled owl. She will sit out in the rain and take a little bit of a shower and let that rain soak her through and allow her to get nice and clean. So some birds like the rain, other birds like to stay on their nice dry perch and want nothing to do with coming out.
Do you make the equipment here or do you buy it? Where do you get it?
Yeah, good question. So we do make our equipment here. This strip of leather came from a big piece of leather like this. We order the leather, this is kangaroo leather, and then we cut it into the sizes that we want. Again, different size birds call for different size anklets, and so we want to be able to make the sizes how we want them. The jesses are made of something called paracord. And paracord is kind of like parachute cord, and we buy this ourselves, and then we make it into jesses. So if you guys want to help us out, if you want to help us make equipment, the best thing that you guys can do is to go on our Amazon wish list. And we always need paracord, we always need different equipment because it does get worn, and if it gets worn, it's not as safe, so we definitely need to switch out things. So if you want to help us out with equipment, go to our Amazon wish list, and yeah, feel free to get us some paracord. It is greatly appreciated. The birds need this. As trainers, we need it. On that Amazon wish list, there's a lot of other cool things that you can get for our birds and for the trainers. One thing we need are meat cutting scissors. If you guys tuned in earlier this week, we showed you how we prep the food. We have limited number of scissors, and the trainers every morning tend to fight over the best pair. So feel free to go again on that Amazon wish list and see if you can find us some meat scissors, because that is definitely very handy for us when we're chopping up food.
So did you go to school for raptors, and what is your favorite raptor?
Yeah, so did I go to school for raptors? So I studied wildlife ecology in college with a minor in captive wildlife management. And I ended up doing an internship at the National Eagle Center up in Minnesota. And I fell in love with raptors then. I didn't think I would work with birds going into college, but after that internship, I've loved birds ever since, and I've loved raptors ever since. My favorite raptor, ooh, that's tough. It changes day to day. But I would have to say I love falcons. Falcons are awesome species, especially the American kestrel. We will be having hopefully one, once it's done raining, we'll have a segment on American kestrels because they're so cool. They're tiny little itty bitty falcons, but don't let that size fool you because they are still full of personality, full of spunk, and they're mighty birds of prey. So I would have to say American kestrels are my favorite.
What is the oldest education bird you have?
Ooh, what is the oldest education bird we have? We have some turkey vultures that are in their 30s. So that's pretty old. We also have an old barn owl. She's one of our education ambassadors. She is one of the sweetest birds that we have, and she is around 15 years old. And that's actually pretty old for a barn owl. Barn owls don't live that long out in the wild, and she's definitely exceeded that. So we have a couple old birds. They have really, really high quality of life here, and even though they're a little bit older, they still are full of personality, full of spunk. So they're a lot of fun to work with.
Before you went to college, did you do anything with animals? Did you know you liked animals?
Ooh, yeah. So I grew up outside. My parents took me camping. My parents took me hiking all the time. And I just fell in love with it right away. Going into college, I knew I wanted to do something with conservation and something working with animals. I just didn't know what. And that's what's great about college, is you do kind of figure out where you want to go, which direction you want to take. I ended up falling in love with education. And after that internship working with bald eagles and doing education programs, like working alongside them, I really fell in love with doing that. Because to see people's faces light up when you bring out these magnificent birds and connecting them to nature that way, it is such a rewarding job and a rewarding experience.
What would you say to the kids that are in 4-H or other animal agriculture clubs?
Yeah, so if you guys are interested in working with animals, whether it's like farm animals, whether it's big cats, whether it's birds, just follow your passion. There's a lot of different cool things that you can do. If you can't get a job yet, like volunteer places, get internships once you're in college, and that really helps. Getting any sort of experience and hands-on work that you can definitely goes a long way.
Would you say your passion for animals has grown?
Has my passion for animals grown? It certainly has. Every day, we're full of personality. The days are never the same. It's not a very routine job. I go in and work with my birds, and every day is different, and it's a lot of fun, and they definitely challenge me a little bit, and that's what grows my passion. Is as I learn with the birds and as I grow as a trainer, I definitely become more passionate each and every day.
Does the Raptor Center use volunteers?
Does the Raptor Center use volunteers? Yes. We have an amazing volunteer program. So we have different areas of volunteers. So if you're interested, go to our website and you can go to like our volunteer section. You can try and become a docent where they walk along the trails and talk to guests about cool things that these birds can do and really connect the visitors to the birds. We have different aviary caretaker positions where those volunteers really help us out as keepers when it comes to taking care of enclosures and helping us out that way. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for joining us here again. We really appreciate all of your support. Again, we can't thank you guys enough for watching these and supporting us through these hard times. If you do want to help us out, again, go to that Amazon wish list. See if you can find anything fun that you might like to give the birds. If you shop on Amazon a lot, we also recommend using Amazon Smile. And if you choose Carolina Raptor Center as your charity, we get a little bit of that purchase amount coming to us. So again, use Amazon Smile, use our Amazon wish list, and that definitely goes a long way for us and our birds. So again, we really appreciate all your support, and thank you guys again for joining us here today.